Good morning. Mark from Homans Associates here. We've got a very exciting introduction today from Housecall Pro's most recent webcast on Tuesday, April 21st. Tuesday's webcast featured an interview with none other than Mark Cuban, billionaire, entrepreneur, and owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Mark is going to be talking about success, leadership, and saving the small business economy. He's going to share his ideas on how to lead during these tough economic times and his thoughts on how to save small businesses. The webcast will include a Q&A with some other contractor pros, and it will also address the most important things you should be doing today to help your small business. I also wanted to touch base on the SBA loan program, as yesterday the Senate passed a $484 billion relief package that includes $310 billion to refund that PPP loan program. A vote is expected in the House sometime this week, and that will refund that program. So if you haven't applied yet, you still can. Also, you can watch this entire series of webcasts and get some great small business advice. Just check out our Homans Associates YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, type in Homans Associates into the search bar, and subscribe to our channel. Every Tuesday through Friday, we'll blast out links to these webcasts on social media. And of course, it's always at the top of our resources page. That's homans.com/resources. That's it from Homans. Now on to today's webcast.
My name is Alexa. I'm the head of online community here at Housecall Pro, and I'm your host for the Home Service Evening Update. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Roland, Mel, and Brooks. Each evening at 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, we share the state of the world according to the home service industry, and we focus on one main topic or guest. Tonight, we have a very special guest. Mark Cuban is here to talk with us to share his thoughts about COVID-19 and the home service economy. If you want to watch any of our past ones, we've been doing this now for 6 weeks. Make sure you look us up on YouTube, just Housecall Pro, and we have a whole coronavirus evening update playlist there. And make sure you join the Facebook group if you are not yet a part of that. And we're putting the links in both Facebook and on Zoom. Make sure you're subscribed there and you're part of the Facebook page. We're now over 2,700 pros in there who are going through the same thing you are right now. So make sure you join there. So before we have our special guest on, we are going to go into Mel with the state of the world. And then after that, we'll be bringing Mark Cuban on.
Great. Thank you and good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Melina Fairley, Senior Vice President of People at Housecall Pro. Please feel free to call me Mel. We do come to you live. It's Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific to give you a daily recap of what's going on in the news related to coronavirus and to bring you information, really great guests, advice, and a sense of community. By way of introduction, I'm not a reporter or a doctor or an infectious disease expert. Rather, I'm a mom of 4. I'm a proud Marine Corps wife. I'm a homeowner, and I'm a human resources professional with over 20 years of experience. I spent 15 of those years with the grocery store Trader Joe's, so I have a profound respect for those of you who are working in customer-facing positions right now. On the front lines in grocery stores, delivering takeout orders at restaurants, or in people's homes, providing much needed home repair and services during these difficult times. So a very heartfelt thank you goes out from my family to yours. So with that said, here is your update for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. The Johns Hopkins dashboard is reporting that globally, we are at over 2.5 million cases and over 175,000 deaths. You can see the dashboard that we look at here every night. So you can also see in the US, we've reached more than 800,000 cases and over 43,000 people have perished here. So this is a good indication. This heat map can show you, what's going on around you or in states and countries where you might have friends or family. So it's a really good resource for you to get to know. Internationally today, we've been seeing and hearing some mixed news on the pandemic this week. India continues to see elevated COVID-19 cases despite a nationwide lockdown. Pakistan is showing a concerning acceleration as well. In contrast, Austria, who had backed off of some social distancing measures recently, has reported that new cases have been remaining at low levels despite reopening some businesses. So that's extremely good news. Iran this week opened some medium risk businesses like bazaars and markets. And Spain and Italy both continue their decline in daily new cases. Spain did announce that the annual running of the bulls in Pamplona has been canceled, and Munich, Germany also canceled their annual Oktoberfest celebration.
Yeah, and I remember a couple of weeks ago too, we obviously announced that the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo was one of the first major events to announce that they were postponing in 2021. So looks like some time before we'll get back to kind of normal with sports and festivals and major events and having lots of attendance.
Yeah, the running of the bulls and Oktoberfest are just two of the latest international events that have been canceled or postponed. They won't be the last. We'll continue to hear more announcements as we continue to fight the pandemic. So back at home here in the US, yesterday, New York State reported its lowest daily incidence since March 20th. This is the state's fifth consecutive day of declining case counts. Very good news. Also in good news, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that the United States appears to be showing a slight decline in daily new cases. So current cases have been in the 25 to 26,000 per day range compared to 27 to 28,000 per day in previous weeks. So certainly a welcome sign there.
Yeah, and because that slowed down, we're seeing some states open up a bit as well. So governors in Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas all announced immediate or pretty soon upcoming changes, and some businesses being allowed to reopen as well.
Yeah, we reported on some of that yesterday. Things like hair salons and nail salons and even some restaurants are being scheduled to be reopened in some areas with certainly different changes in requirements and how they're doing business, but we're starting to see some states take slow steps to getting back to normal. Each state is taking a different approach, but all of them are making efforts designed to provide a balance between economic relief and minimizing the risk. So on the economic relief front, we have some really good news today. The big news is that Congress thankfully is on the verge of passing a new $480 billion stimulus deal. It was approved by the Senate just a few hours ago. So $310 billion is authorized for the Paycheck Protection Program. That's the loan program run directly through lenders and specifically designed to help small employers fund payroll costs. 60 billion of that will be set aside for smaller banks, but smaller lending facilities like community financial institutions. There's also going to be 10 billion for grants under the Emergency Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the EIDL, and 50 billion for disaster recovery loans, which are administered by the Small Business Administration. So this has been one of our hottest topics over the weeks that we've been coming to you every night.
Definitely.
Many of you tuning in have applied for one of these, have applied for both of these, as we've been talking about them near nightly, and also have walked you through the application process for the past few weeks. I'm happy to report that I'm seeing lots of celebrations in our Facebook group. So many of you have been receiving funds. So we know that there are lots of you still waiting. But if you haven't applied, this bill is expected to pass the House later this week and be signed by law into the president. So hang in there and make sure that your bank is ready to submit your application for the PPP. And if you're applying for the EIDL, that's the one that you can apply for directly, not through a bank. So you can do that directly at sba.gov once more funds are appropriated. So for those of you who have applications in, more money is being freed up. And if you haven't gotten an application in, you're going to have another chance, but you've got to be prepared.
Yeah, we've seen obviously a lot of people with the EIDL get really no notification other than just literally money showing up in their bank accounts. And they're like, wait, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to get? But yeah, so just as a confirmation, for those of you that did apply for the EIDL and got your grant money in, you'll just see that in your bank account because remember, you gave them that information to deposit it. So you'll see that pop right in there.
And Roland, the learning on that is it's usually what, $1,000 per employee. It's not a $10,000 flat for everybody. Is that right?
Yep, about $1,000 per person per employee.
Great.
What's up, guys?
I was
Hey.
How you doing, Mark?
Just jumped out of the shower, so if I look wet, you're right.
Well, we can continue on with the evening update on Mel's side after Mr. Cuban. So I'm super excited to welcome Mark Cuban, investor, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and one of the main sharks on ABC Shark Tank, to our show. He's here to talk about success, leadership, and saving the small business economy. So Brooks, Roland, Mark, over to you.
Well,
thank you, Alexa. We appreciate that. So Mark, welcome to the show tonight. Really appreciate you joining us. I'm going to give you a quick outline of the agenda, make sure that you're good with what we have in line. 3 real focus areas. The first one is we talk a lot about leadership with our pros. Our pros are our customers. And right now they're under an incredible amount of pressure. They feel like they're really carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. So I'd love to ask you a couple of questions about how you have been successful as a leader in good times and bad.
Tell me about your pros. What do they do? What's their pitch? What's their pitch?
Yeah, so our pros are typically 1 to 10 person companies. They're in the trades. Think HVAC, plumbing, electrical, home cleaning, carpet cleaning. That's
Right.
our audience. We're typically about 2 million companies out there in America, usually about 3% of our GDP. So they're a big part of the backbone of this country. Almost all SMB, depending on what kind of definition you use, but 1 to 10's in our wheelhouse. We see more of our customers going up to 20 and 30 person companies. Make
And
sense?
is the customer base usually homes, or is it more commercial?
A little bit of both. So a lot of residential, doing jobs at home, but over time, we've seen more commercial customers come in, and usually they're doing some kind of blended work.
Got it. Okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Good. The second topic is, obviously the topic du jour right now is COVID-19 and the economy. So we'll ask you some point of view on that one. And the third one is we'd like to take a few questions from the audience. Sound good?
Sure. And when you guys go in and work on commercial in particular, you guys can do anything, right? What's the number one seller? What's the number one service you offer?
So we're a software company, and we're selling an operating system essentially to our customers who we call the pros. And these pros, the biggest group or cohort we have is an HVAC and plumbing. And they're typically subscribing to our platform to do everything from scheduling, dispatching, estimates, invoice, and getting paid. Just think the backbone of running their business while they're out there turning the wrench.
And do they do any type of sanitation stuff? Are your clients' right?
Yeah.
Do they do sanitation? And so when all these companies are going to have to come back, they're going to be your customers that are running your software are going to need implementation plans so that they can help their customers, small businesses, get open.
So yeah, think about that. Our customer is a small business, right? There are these guys in the trades, right? And they're the ones who they use our operating systems to book their jobs through, but they're out there talking to their customers, right? And
you're selling it to the plumbers. You're selling the software to the plumbers and everything, right? The HVAC people, right? Their customer, the HVAC people's customers are small businesses, a lot of them independents, and they're going to turn to those people in order to help them get open and stay sanitized.
That's right.
And safe, right?
That's right. That's
right.
Big,
yeah, they're doing a little bit of that work
step.
in places where they can right now. But the emergency services, we've been really blessed to be under that umbrella of emergency services for most of our trade. So HVAC, plumbing, look, air is breaking, plumbing's still getting backed up with everybody in their houses together. So some of these trucks are out there rolling every day, just not the same volumes we've seen historically. Some of the other services like home cleaning, carpet cleaning have definitely been pushed down during this time because they're not always emergency service, or people are a little more hesitant to have that service come to their home, right?
And so if I said something to the effect of, look, if I have a small retail business, I sell clothes, or I'm a gift shop, right? In order for customers to feel confident walking in my gift shop, they're going to need to know it's clean. They're going to need to know the air is circulating, right? And so are you guys doing anything with your software to enable your customers to go to their customers and have a checklist or things they need to do to let them know their customers can be their end retail customer walking into their customer store can be confident?
We talk a lot about with our pros, guidance on what is your positioning right now? How will you change your message? And one of the first things they invariably talk about today versus 2 months ago is, what are my safety protocols? What are my protocols if I'm going to come in your home? What are my protocols if I'm going to your place of business? And then how can you, as the restaurateur or as the homeowner, feel comfortable in that environment and be able to pass it through to your customer if you have one on the commercial side?
Okay, that's the money shot to me, right? Because that's the uncertainty, and that's the piece that's missing. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That messaging has always been, it's been the first step. So we talk a lot about, look, at first everyone was just sort of shocked and awed by this.
Of course.
A lot of our pros were investing in just the emotion of fear, but quickly we've been passing a lot of good information to them in simple form. They could take it and be actionable. And messaging was the first thing we talked about. And then it is, hey, let's break it down. What's the next thing you can do to start taking action and moving yourself towards a place of not just succeeding, but ultimately thriving even in this extraordinary time?
Got it. Okay, 1 second, I can close this door. I'm good to go. My kids have been yelling all day about who gets the Xbox, so if you hear it screaming.
I can appreciate that. I've got 3 of my kids all here in the house with us, and it's like a circus every day. So I'm sure all of our customers are feeling the same way. All right, so a couple of quick questions on leadership, because I think that's important to our people. These are, our pros are the CEOs that are a company. I don't care if it's a 2-person shop or a 10 or 20-person shop. They're carrying a lot of weight of themselves, and you have been incredibly successful. It's interesting. My first question is, we have a friend in common, Dave Samuel from Brondell. I think you were an investor of his back in 2005.
I was just using his product.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's like the #1 and the #2 business is an ill quip, right? So he makes bidets. Well, I remember back about 10 years ago, I had a pitch, and he said, "Hey, why don't you go to Mark Cuban and pitch it to him?" Like, really, how am I gonna get that guy's attention? I sent you an email, and sure as shooting, you gave me a response inside an hour. I couldn't believe that. And then last week, I reach out to you again and say, "Hey, look, we've got this great public service. Would you be willing to come and join?" And 20 minutes later, I got a response from you. And I was just blown away by that. I mean, and so my question is, look, you're a pretty famous guy, as it turns out. That's a remarkable level of accessibility and organization. What do you think that says about you, Mark?
Nothing. It means it's you. It's not me. It's just like, you think I'm going to let your emails wait? Of course not.
That's very kind of you.
It's just the way I work. I'm not a phone calls guy. I'm not a meetings guy. Not that anybody is anymore. I just get more done that way. And so I start, and I just try to keep up and keep that inbox, the unread, down under 30 unread emails. Wow. And the sooner I can get through them and the sooner I can respond, the quicker I'm done with them. And, when something catches my attention, like this obviously did, and I thought it was valuable and I could learn from it as well, then you're going to get a response. What did I respond the first time, though?
You actually gave me a really thoughtful response, and you said, "Hey, look, this is an interesting idea. Probably not for me, but here are a couple of things to go think about." And they were really actionable. And so, like, in a really tight, terse, one paragraph, 3 bullet point response, I was off and running. Yeah, that was awesome. I took it back, shared it with my team, and then they're like, "Wow, that's amazing." First of all, they were a little amazed, but then the substance of it really mattered. So I appreciate that.
I'm still waiting for my commission.
Yeah, never got that business going though, but I would come back to you for probably some sponsorship on the deal. All right, let's go to the second one. So let's talk about a highlight reel for Mark Cuban, right? So you make $1 billion plus in 1999. Really famously, you buy the Dallas Mavericks. You go on Shark Tank, and you've invested in hundreds now of startups and SMB companies. You're a family man. You invest in your community. That's an incredible amount of success by any measure. What's your superpower? What's the secret to your success?
I mean, no secret. I just grind, and I try to learn. I try to be a learner. Most people go to work, they do their thing, they try to get through the day, they try to keep up with what's going on around them, and then they have a beer, I try to keep on reading while I'm drinking that beer. I keep on going through those emails. That's why I try to respond to all the emails, because I learned so much. And to me, being excited about learning and learning how to learn no matter what industry you're in is key. I mean, You see it yourself. I mean, being a SaaS business where you're at, on one hand, you're a tech business, but the reality, once you get the software done, you're not a tech business at all. You're a service company, and what your customers tell you is your guideline. And sometimes you listen to your customers, and sometimes you can't listen to your customers because they're just trying to get through the day, and you have to think about what's coming next. And so what's coming next is really what I focus on trying to figure out and understand. Because, technology, as you guys know, once you know an industry and you're really core to it, you can kind of guess how to mix the two, right? You know what's coming next with tech, and you see what people are trying to accomplish in the industry you're in, and then you put the two together, and it can take you anywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting, that learning mindset. I love hearing that because, for our pros, as they're figuring out how to be a leader in good time and bad, I've really couched them to say, and coach them to say, look, spend 20 to 30 minutes a day, just consume information that you can go put to work, right? Invest in yourself, invest in your mindset. So again, you know how to lead your family, you know how to lead or take care of your family, lead for your company, and just keep moving forward. Even if it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, that knowledge, that learning will be invaluable to you. So you're a great example of that. Right?
Because it's all you. It's your baby, right? There's nobody, you can't say, well, it's not my fault. It is your fault, right? You can't say that, right. It got done, and when it goes wrong, it's your fault. And when it goes right, you got to give someone else the credit. And that's the beauty of it all, because, there's no more rewarding feeling than having a vision, busting your ass, and having it turn out the way you wanted it to. And then for the things your customers do, going into that business when they have a problem and their whole business is on the line, you're like a doctor in a lot of respects. You save businesses every day, and that's rewarding. and especially now. I mean, who knows how many thousands of businesses your pros are going to bail out, and that's important.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so how about one more then on the leadership side of things? Given your storied career, can you think of one or two examples where you had to deal with adversity and you overcame it, and what got you there?
Oh yeah, lots of times getting fired. I was working for a software store, and I was living 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment. I was sleeping on the floor. I had one ratty towel that I stole from the Holiday Inn that had a hole in it that stood up on its own. I didn't have any drawers. I didn't have a bed. I had nothing. Like, if the other guys were out late, I'd sneak into their bed and kick them out of their room. And I got fired. I had this deal that I was trying to close. I was selling software, and part of my job was to sweep the floor, wipe down the windows, and open the store. 9:30 a.m. had to open the store. Call my boss, and I'm like, look, I've got this deal, $15,000 sale. I get a $1,500 commission. You're going to make thousands of dollars. Can I get someone else to cover for me to open the store? No. So I made the executive decision. If when I hand him a check, he was going to, change his mind, fired me on the spot. So here I am sleeping on the floor, having nothing, just surviving now, broke.
Yeah.
And I had to go basically cold call every potential customer that I could and say, you know what, I'm just getting started. I got nothing. If you'll front me $500 to buy the software, I promise you that I'll wash your car, I'll bathe your children, I'll sweep your floor. I don't care. And if it doesn't work, and it turns out I made it work, and they referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody. And I had my ups and downs. 2 years later, I'll give you an example. We'd finally gotten up to a few employees. I think I had 3 employees, and I get a call from the bank. It's a Texas banker. Son, we just had this woman drive through the drive-through of the bank and cash these checks. And I'm like, cash checks? She goes, yes, sir. She whited out the payee and wrote in our name. And I'm like, you cashed them? Yes, sir, of course. They brought a check into the drive-through. That's what we do. We cash checks. Lady took 82 of our $84,000 in the bank. These were all accounts payables. And so we had to go and talk to all of our vendors and say, look, we're screwed right now. And you've seen us grow, and you've seen what we're capable of. If you'll work with us and give us a little time to pay you, then I'll make sure it works. And, lo and behold, we got through that. But I learned not to get mad. Things go bad, right? Think like now, things aren't going to go your way. Things break. Just when you think you've got your software written, there's a bug. You can try to say it's a feature, but it's still a bug. When you do that HVAC, and all of a sudden, they turned it up too soon. They couldn't run. It broke, right? That's just the nature of every single business. And leadership means bad news is coming. It's just a question of anticipating and how you're going to deal with it, and calming everybody and let them know this is what we do, right? If there was no bad news, there'd be no reason for anybody to hire us, and that's our job, to take bad news and turn it into good news. Because when we walk out of there, we feel better about it. Our customers feel better about it. That house is clean. That restaurant's clean. That store is clean. And you know what? We develop that trust because we take bad situations and make them good.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, if you can be calm in the face of adversity, the tempest is going on around you, that's what people are looking for, right? And then that means you can focus on adding some value to whether it's your customer, your family, whoever else. That's really good advice. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears then, Mark, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you mentioned before you like to have a beer at the end of the day. Imagine you're having a beer with Doe's family, HVAC, and plumbing. What do you think you want to say to him? What do you think John Doe needs to hear right now, given the circumstances of the world?
The family that runs the plumbing company, HVAC?
Yep. Yeah, HVAC plumbing company. Just again, one of our customers,
your
operator out there. What does he need to hear from you?
Your customers, right?
Yeah, our customer, the guy who has the plumbing shop, the HVAC shop.
Right.
Like right now, what do you think he needs to hear from someone like you?
The first thing you got to do is be honest and authentic and say, you know what, I'm scared shitless too. This is uncertainty for all of us. And you know what, I'm here to listen and I'm here to help. As we start to go through this, who knows what's going to happen, but you know what, you can trust me to be there. And that's what I would tell him to tell his customers as well, because his customers or her customers are terrified too. They've been shut down. Your guys are allowed to work at some level sometimes in some places, but if you got a restaurant, you're closed. And so I would tell them, you know what, there's going to be time when we open up. There's going to be time when we get to the other side of this, but it's going to be different. America 2.0 after this reset is going to be different than America 1.0, because you need people to feel confident that they can walk into your store, right? That they can walk in, and you know what? If you don't have the right HVAC providers, servicer, right, then they're not going to trust the air that's circulating. And you can't honestly tell them that, no, you know what, if something bad comes through the air here, we're gonna filter it out. You've got to be able to give them confidence so they can give their customers confidence. That's a unique service only an HVAC provider can provide. And there's nobody walking in that store, whether it's retail, restaurant, bowling alley, whatever, gym, unless that air is filtered and circulated and those air conditioning and all those units are working correctly. And if you want to trust Joe Blow to put the health of your family and your employees and your customers, are you sure you want to do that? Because you and me, we're going to the mat together because we know what's at stake. And I'm here for you, and we're going to work through this together. Did I get the job as a sales rep?
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good pitch. I mean, that's what they need to hear, I think. And it's similar to the message that we've been advocating as we talk with our pros. And again, think about your communication approach here. Think about what's valuable. Make sure you're really clear on that messaging. And again, like you've said, just keep hustling, keep grinding, and good things are going to happen for your business.
But you got to be authentic.
I know you had some follow-up.
You got to be authentic.
Sure.
Right? You can't like sugarcoat. It's not like you're talking to your kids, right? Oh, it's going to be all right. Don't worry, everything. It's got to be honesty because they're scared.
Good point.
Right? And if you've just got to be brutally honest, and it's okay to say you're concerned as well because you'll have that connection, and that honesty will build a lot of points when it comes time to them, making whatever decisions they have to make when they open up, because business is going to be less than when it was before, and people are going to be really concerned about cost and effectiveness and service.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
And even that customer today, if they're not taking action, they're going to at some point in the future. So the more authentic you are, the more you're able to connect with them person to person, they're gonna remember it, right? And they'll come back to you or recommend you to somebody else. Yep. Yeah, perfect. All right, Roland, I know you have some questions for Mark.
Oh, yes. No, definitely. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I know a lot of the people that are watching are huge Shark Tank fans. I've watched almost all the episodes in the last 11 seasons. I know on the show, you talk a lot about, technology. And as you're talking to, these young entrepreneurs, these young businesses, you're always trying to figure out ways how to teach them how technology levels that playing field, whether it's, setting up e-commerce so they can set up, their direct to consumer side or, measuring and analytics so they can really understand their numbers. Tell maybe the viewers here, what value do you see technology bringing to the home service industry, particularly for these professionals and the businesses during these times? And do you think that changes during the pandemic and afterwards, or do you think it's going to stick?
A little bit of both. And first, we're on Friday nights on ABC, 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central. Still brand new episodes, so that's my sales pitch because I'm always selling. And yeah, obviously technology is going to be critically important on all sides. First of all, there's going to need to be protocols on what is required for each different type of business that your pros are servicing, right? Yep. How they deal with the restaurant is going to be different than how they deal with the retail store, and how they track things, right? How they manage all the components of their business, right? So that everything gets dealt with. Because what's going to be different is all your pros customers are going to have all kinds of uncertainties, right? We talked about some of them. Is the air quality good? Is my plumbing good? Look, your bathrooms are going to be a whole lot more important than they used to be.
Sanitation,
Sanitation, right? What about touch points? Where do I touch, right? Maybe we're looking at using Alexa, or Google Home or Cortana or some voice activated things. And you guys can be their guides to helping to introduce that. But most importantly, from your perspective, from the pros perspective, you've got to be able to have guidelines and easy to use systems to make sure that when you're in the heat of the moment and you're working with all your customers, you have all your bases covered. And, when things open back up, it's going to be a rush, right? So it's not going to be like a normal course of business where you got, 1 or 2 or 3, whatever your normal number of calls is. It's going to be 10x that on one day. Right. And if you don't have the right system in place to be able to manage that and to be able to do follow-ups and call and return calls and, whatever, all the nuanced things that you need, trying to do that manually would be ridiculous. Right. Yeah. And trying to scale and keep up with smaller systems or homegrown systems is going to be ridiculous. But you guys have so much depth, you're going to need those systems in place. And I think what you'll have to add is the protocols that each new business is going to need so that, a restaurant may have to deal with things a lot differently than a retail store. So it could be something, at a restaurant, how do you dispose of people's masks that they leave there?
Yeah.
People leave masks. So do you need to do hazmat, right? And do you need to have different types of garbage? Do you need to have different types of disposal systems? What about utensils and cleaning them?
Yeah, the pens they use to sign the check. What happens with that?
All the things. How you pay for it. Do you still take cash? Maybe that's not specific to you guys, but there'll be so many. There'll be a long list of new things that you'll do that you didn't think of before. And having the right software and the right provider there is what's going to make it so that you can move more quickly. Because the last thing you need is to leave things off. So if you're HVAC and you didn't consider filtering, or your disposal, or you help with their disposal and sanitation, and you didn't think about, okay, that's a mask, and somebody just sneezed on that, and that's on a restaurant table, right? One of my customers' tables. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to dispose of gloves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How do people eat with masks? There's so many things we need to consider, and software is going to help you track it all.
No, that's great advice. I feel like in this, you reference America 2.0, and as we take a look at what's happening, obviously there's going to be big change. You've talked a lot about employee ownership, and is this a time when these small businesses should start thinking about the employees that they currently have that are maybe on hourly? How do they transform their business into something that maybe becomes more equitable, or they have some sort of ownership or maybe profit sharing? And is this something that small businesses should start thinking about in times like these to help close that gap? Or is this just a big company kind of a thing, or a VC-backed startup kind of a thing?
I told you the story about the company where the girl stole all the money, and every single one of my employees got equity in that company. And when we sold it for $6 million gross, I got two. My partner, I brought on, got two, and actually it was $5 million. And all the employees got a little bit more than one. And so they all were thrilled to death, but they all worked their asses off too, right?
Yep.
And so going forward, it's a weird time right now. With unemployment insurance, if people are looking at quitting because they'll get paid more for a while. And so you've got to look at all the different issues. And I'm a big believer. Every single company I've ever had, I've given stock to the employees, because I want them to see the vision. I want them to buy in the vision, and want them to know when they bust their ass, we're side by side. I'll never ask an employee to do a job that I won't do myself. And knowing that they have equity or profit sharing of some sort gives me confidence that they're all in with me, and gives them confidence that when they put in that extra time, when they go the extra mile, if I make money, they make money. And I think that's really important. And part two to that is, when you're getting paid by the hour, you can never catch up, ever, right? Maybe you buy a house, maybe you get paid up, you're able to buy a house, and that can appreciate, and that goes well. But unless you have something that can appreciate and value, you're always playing catch up. And, you want your employees, particularly since, your pros deal with such a skill-based environment, right? When you've got somebody who's good, you need good people, right?
You want to keep them. You don't want them to go anywhere else. Yeah.
That's exactly right. You even want them to think about it. When they own shares of stock in your company, no matter how you structure it, they have to think twice if someone else is trying to compete with you and trying to pay them more. And if you're underpaying, look, there's two types of employees: those who cause stress and those who reduce stress. And when you have employees, and there's part two to that is, you hire slow and fire fast, right? Yep. When people just can't do the job, thank you, sorry, but we've got to move on. But when you find the right people that reduce your stress, those are the people you just got to keep, right? Because they're just as important to the company as you are. And that's the thing you learn as a leader. And that's the thing you learn, when you go from hiring that first employee, you probably already knew them. Those first couple employees, you probably already knew maybe their family. You start getting to 10 and you're hiring people. You start getting to 40 and 50, and maybe there's somebody you don't really know and you're having to trust. When you're starting to trust those people that you don't know yet, you're not there side by side all the time, you better believe that you want people that reduce your stress. And if you're not paying them enough, they're always looking. People rarely take jobs as a career anymore. It's not like it was 20 years ago. Okay, I'm going to stay here and get that gold watch and retire. It's like, all right, somebody comes along and offers me more, I'm gone. Or maybe I'll start my own thing and I'll take your customers with me, right? Because I think you're doing this wrong or that wrong. That's why you want to keep your stress reducers, and giving them equity and letting them share in the upside always is important.
Yeah, so kind of last
Great
question here
message.
before I've got an ask for you, but
Uh-huh.
this question is centered around, what do you think is different about America and the trades compared to the rest of the world? And what good do you think is going to come out of this pandemic, as we start looking out kind of the other side of this?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that is incredible about this country, we're the one country in the world that's built on entrepreneurship. We thrive on innovation. We thrive on effort. We, thrive on just going out there and starting businesses left and right. No one ever thinks it's just a job. They're always in the back of their head. That's why Shark Tank's so successful. That's why I do the show, right? Because it sends the message that the American dream is alive and well. Somebody, out of a small garage, in a house they're about to lose in Iowa, starts a little screen mending company. A girl, who's young, realizes she's got eczema and started a sugar scrub company and builds it to millions of dollars. That's what makes this country different than every other country in the world. And that's why I'm confident going forward. Even though this is hell right now, we will get to the other side, but we'll learn along the way. When we get there, all those pros you have, all those entrepreneurs, all those people who put all their blood, sweat, and tears, they know what it's like to have to push the business forward. They're going to innovate. They're going to come up with new ideas. They're going to tell you things you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that, right?
They do it all the time on our Facebook groups, all the time.
That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yep.
And that's what makes this country great. And that's why I'm confident, because we're going to look back in 10 years, whatever it is, and there's going to be 5, 10, 20, 50 world-class, world-changing companies that were created right here in the USA. I mean, I can't say strongly enough how big a believer I am in American exceptionalism. There ain't nobody can keep up with us when we put our mind to it.
Yeah.
I mean, capitalism and democracy has served us well for quite a while.
Yeah, but they'll evolve, right? That flag behind you doesn't look the same then as it does now, right? And things change,
right.
and that's okay. We all learn, and that's a beautiful thing. But that's what capitalism is all about. You evolve, you adapt. That's what democracy is all about. We evolve, we adapt, and that is the opportunity that we have. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us great. And I get pumped up, as you can tell, man, because I invest in so many businesses, right? And I do talks like this, and I see people that just make a difference. That's special.
Okay. And now's the time to build.
Awesome.
A lot of people,
yeah.
don't sit around. Now's the time to build. And now's the time to hustle, because when
Amen.
other people are sitting around, you're going to be the one that's going to find yourself ahead.
All your pros out there know that there have been times they're busting their ass so hard that it happens almost every week. Oh, you know what? If I only had time, I would change this. If I only had time, I would update that. If I only had time, I would, reconfigure this, or this, or this. Guess what? Now's the time to do it, so that when you come out on the other side, you're more efficient, more productive, and more ready to go.
Yeah. So one thing we often tell the viewers, or I often tell the viewers, is, you don't get what you don't ask for. So for us, you've given a lot of just like great, valuable advice, all these golden nuggets. We've literally kept track of them here. We're going to publish this in a blog post later. But who is somebody you think we should have on the show that you can introduce us to that would do the same that you just did for our pros? Who do you think?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank.
Yep.
Barbara Corcoran has the best people skills that I've ever seen. And because she's in the real estate business, she understands exactly what you guys do, right? Because she's hiring, your pros all the time to get stuff
That's a good
done.
point.
But when it comes to people, Barbara can't do math to save her life. If you ask her what 10 plus 10 is, she's lost, right? She's getting her calculator out. But if you say, Barbara, what do you think about that person? She's always going to be dead on. Barbara, should we invest in this person? Her people skills are incredible. So, yeah, Barbara Corcoran.
All right, we're going to come back.
I'll make that my third email to you then, Mark.
Yeah. So let's take some
good.
audience. So we have like 121 questions, but let me pick one out here. I think I've got one that I think you're going to be the exact right person to ask for this. So this one's from Ben Perez, who's one of our pros, and he's the owner of Fendament Ironworks. And he asks, in a scenario like this, do you recommend relying more on gut or data for internal investment and business decisions?
So it's both, right? So first of all, because it's an external threat that we don't really understand, you're working with imperfect data, right? We don't know when this virus is going to be over. And so I would tell you the number one skill is being agile. I love data, right? I'm a tech guy, and I'm always going to pay attention to the data, and that really leads to my gut decisions. But right now, I'm just trying to be resilient and agile. When we get to the other side, then I start using data. I want to know what's right in front of me, because now we're on the other side, right? But there's so much imperfect information right now. I'm just thinking, you know what? How can I be agile? How can I be learning? How can I be paying attention when other people aren't? Because the minute that door opens, I want to be blasting through it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Obviously, there's numbers everywhere right now, and you can't even always rely on them. So it's a combination of both to get to the right outcome.
Yeah, and that's what a model is, right? A model is not supposed to be definitive. A model is supposed to give you a range of probabilities. And it's never going to be right. It's not supposed to be. It's like all your pros, the one thing I know for certain, all the ones who did business plans and projections, they were all wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
All blown out. No,
Any
that's
model
good.
is wrong the moment you finish it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's true. All right, so here we have, so this is the top voted one here. This is from Christina Adam, and I don't know her business name, she didn't include it here, but she asks, what changes would you make personally to take advantage of this type of economy? And another a highly viewed or highly upvoted one here is from Walker Ron that says, I'd frame this around if he were in the home service business. So what changes would you make to take advantage of this type of economy? Maybe as a business.
Depends what city I'm in, depends what services I'm offering, but I'd look to see which companies that are my potential customer base are doing well, right?
Yep.
So grocery stores are crushing it. Any place that sells food, right? Companies that sell to grocery stores or produce. And so I'm trying to see as much business as I can get there. That's number one. Number two, I'm redoing all my marketing material and being flexible and all my social and everything, because it's going to be a little different on the other side. Number three, I'm putting together a punch list of all across my customer base. Once we get on the other side of this, what are the things they need to do to get open, and what are the services I can sell to them to help them get open? And part B to that is to keep them open too once they're open, right? And so what kind of service programs can I put together? And I don't know if Christina sells by the hour. I don't know if she has a subscription package in terms of her customer base, right? Don't know enough about her business, but those are the things I'm doing so that I can be agile and ready.
Yeah, that's great advice. And obviously looking at other people that are successful, we've seen a lot of our pros that are like, hey, I might be, a plumber right now, but I see this business needs help. Let me go subcontract for them. And I've got lots of people that are ready to work. Let's go take up that work and go work for them. And that's a great one. Just look out there.
Follow the money. You know what? So like people, like kids coming out of school, what kind of job should I get? I'm like, dude, you don't have to get the perfect job, right? You're getting paid to learn. So when now you're a contractor and maybe your business is slow and you're doing contract work out there, so someone's building something, and it's like you're networking. You're getting paid to network. And so instead of dealing with cold calls and trying to figure out where your next dollar is coming from, get out there, let everybody know about your business. And look, most of the people side by side with you are networking and contracting too, right?
That's right. So they're all doing the same.
They're all doing the same thing, right? And chances are a lot of them, but still, if it leads to one new source of business, it's a win.
Totally.
Great.
All right, so Mark, I think we've got 2 more minutes with you. I'm going to ask one more question.
Sure.
I always think about, for myself and for all the teams that I'm lucky enough to work with, what is the one thing you would be better at tomorrow than you are today? Like just incremental improvement, focus on one thing, because one thing's attainable, right? It's not this massive thing. It doesn't become overwhelming. It's something you can control. So for you get a lot of good advice today. What is the one thing you think our pros should do tomorrow morning when they get to when they wake up? I was thinking with their shop, but they wake up and get to work.
So for me personally, right, I try to look at, like we talked earlier, what technology is next. And because it's new technology, I don't know anything about it, right? I'm right where everybody is. And so I look at artificial intelligence as being one of the next big things, that and robotics. And so what I'm going to do that I can control is I'm taking, I'm actually reading a book called Rebooting AI. And look, it's new to me. It's not the simplest thing ever, but I have to dive in and I have to learn it. I have to take the tutorials. I take Coursera classes. I keep the books, right next to my Brondell. So every time I get a chance, I'm picking them up and I'm reading whatever I can. Seriously, it's just the one thing I can control is trying to get knowledge that puts me ahead. And if there's something that I can visualize that gives me a competitive advantage, that's directly where I'm going, because everybody talks about AI and robotics, but very few people truly understand how they work. And I need to have a bullshit meter for when I'm looking at investments and when I'm helping my companies, and that's where I'm at.
That's been a great theme all the way throughout, just that learning mindset and keep investing in yourself. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an amazing half an hour for us.
It was
We feel
fun.
privileged and really blessed for all of our people too. So thank you so much.
Hey, you know what? And let me just say to everybody watching, thank you. You know, you guys are entrepreneurs. You guys are getting it done out there. You're grinding. And right now, when it's tough, you're not quitting, right? And so when we get to that other side, you're the people I'm going to count on. And so thank you to all of you, because that's what matters.
Well,
Thank you so much. Take care and be healthy.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
And
you.
Talk to you about Barbara.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you about Barbara.
That's right.
Feel free to come back whenever you want, whenever you feel like it.
I appreciate that.
And also, if you guys are watching, please join the official discussion for coronavirus, or official coronavirus discussion for home services Facebook group. We dropped it in the chat. That's where we can continue this discussion. All right.
You guys gonna send me a link?
If you want
we'll
to
send
join
you a
our
link.
Facebook group, I'll send it to
Yeah,
you.
why not, right? I'll learn from you guys. I want to see what's happening on the front lines. Absolutely.
Okay. As long as you accept my friend request.
Oh, man.
There we go.
Never mind.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, same time. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
guys.
Same place.
Appreciate it.
Take care.